Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 3. In the last one we started off Razor Ridge, the 6th world in the game, and now we're in Confused Cliffs. I think you can figure out the mechanic of this stage pretty easily. We gotta climb the ropes. It's an auto-scroller where the ropes are constantly burning below us. I don't think if you touch the fire you get hit, but if you touch the fire you might as well fall off the rope and die anyway. There are times when the level will open up to the left and right of you in order to get either some of the hidden bonuses we need to get 100%, or to just get some extra items like DK barrels or bananas. The big thing to note is you want to stay towards the middle or bottom third of the screen still, because they're going to send enemies from the top of the screen a lot to try and blindside you. So if you stay too high, unless you have everything memorized, you're probably going to get hit. With that said, this level also has some of the tighter to get bonus stages in the game. For instance, I think we're coming up in the first one right here. You need to do a thing like this, and oh boy. Both of them work more or less like that, and it gets pretty tight. Thankfully, the bonuses themselves are pretty simple. I think some of the ropes in this level do have variable speeds that they can move at, in that, say, one will move at maybe, this is a completely made-up measurement, but like 5 pixels a second, another will move at 15. I think it depends on where you are in the level. I think some do move faster, is the ultimate thing with it. Ultimately, this is not a level I try to revisit, so I don't know. When it comes to getting the bear coins, by the way, because seeing one of them right now just reminded me, by and large, most levels have 2 or 3 hidden in them somewhere. So when it comes to getting the amount you need to buy not only the mirror, but to buy another thing, once we're going for the true ending, it shouldn't take too long just going through levels or redoing swanky sideshows just to get the amount you need. It's honestly harder, I feel, to avoid them than it is to get them all, if that makes sense. Because you're gonna find some just by proxy of probably getting some of the bonus barrels, even. Which I'm glad, I feel sometimes games like this that have limited currencies like that, quote-unquote limited currencies, can be a little bit iffy on the amounts you have versus the amount you need. Oh boy, that bonus is always a little tight. I think I was less than a second away from dying there. Something I also like about the bonus stages in this game, they don't really blindside you too much with what's going on in them. There's only really one, I'd say, that can kind of blindside you, and that's in a later level. And that's just because that level's mechanic sort of blindsides you no matter what you're doing, I feel. Maybe that honestly might be my least favorite level in the game. More on that eventually. I'm just glad they also don't make you have to deal with the timer of the burning rope when trying to get the DK coin, because they place that right here at the end of the level, so you don't actively need to rush for it. That said, just pick it up and throw, and there you go. You do have to stand either towards the right side of that little cliff or on top of it to make sure you don't hit his shield, though. I think that barrel respawns, but I'd rather not attempt it. And now we can head here to Bjorn's chairlifts. Oh, hello. How are you, my fine furry cones? I am being Bjorn, Benny's brother. I'm afraid that my chairlift is broken. I left my number 6 wrench to someone, and they didn't return it to me. So we can't get 100% in this world until we find that wrench, which again we'll get much later on. For now, we're going to be going into another level I'm iffy on. This is Floodlit Fish. The main mechanic of this level is admittedly pretty on the nose, just based off the name. It's dark. It's very dark. You can make out a lot of what you're seeing still all the same, but the contrast isn't exactly the most helpful. That said, this is also a level we get some good control with On Guard in. The main mechanic is, you see these big glowing fish? Whack them with On Guard to light the area up, at least to better lighting, for a couple seconds at a time. Try to chain hit the fish as best you can to try and get everything, and then just hope you can get to the level design at a fast enough speed to get to the next lighting up fish before it gets dark again. I do believe the timer for the light depends on the individual fish you hit. I don't think it's a set timer. But yeah, the Gleamin' Breams, that's what those things are called, are your main key here. You can make it through fine entirely without them, but it's going to be a lot harder to tell what you're doing. Honestly, the biggest threat I feel when it gets dark is the urchin enemies, as I feel while they're still easy enough to tell apart, they blend in a bit too much with the background compared to how they are in the light, which is, you know, kind of the point. And there also might be times, obviously, where you have moving urchins like this that if you're in the dark, you might not be able to see them coming as much, let alone with the screen. I almost said screen crunch. It's technically not screen crunch unless it's, like, really poorly sized sprites. Screen crunch is more so when it comes to porting a game to a different sized screen, huh? With that said, if you're playing the GBA version, you don't have to worry about this level nearly as much as if you're playing the Super Nintendo version, as due to the fact that GBA's screen was, well, shit. They increased the general game's brightness to make up for it, yes, but this level they also made it so that it's bright enough at base in the GBA version of this level that you don't need to hit the fish at all to light it up. If anything, it looks closer to the Super Nintendo version with how they did it there. So hitting them, completely unnecessary. I think they also made it so that the bonus levels were completely lit up. It is still a little darker, I should note, but it looks closer to how the game normally looks, so Super Nintendo ports on the GBA were a very mixed bag, is what it comes down to, because if the color palettes weren't completely messed up just because of the early GBA screens, the sound quality took a massive hit, or the screen crunch made some problems, or the lack of certain buttons made for some problems. Like, I think about playing the Mario games I grew up playing on the GBA that were Super Nintendo ports, and yeah, the Super Nintendo versions are just straight up better. Like, growing up, I didn't have Super Nintendo Yoshi's Island. I had GBA, and if there's a way to freeze the cursor in one place like you can in Super Nintendo in the GBA version, I don't know about it, because did I ever beat the game on that version, or did I beat it on emulator when I first beat it? I don't remember at this point. It's been a hot minute. The Mario Advance games. I guess Mario Advance 1 worked well enough because that was an NES game and had less buttons than the GBA, but any of the Super Nintendo ports, ugh. Don't even get me started on Final Fantasy IV Final Fantasy IV Advance. That is still the worst version of that game. Yes, while I added the cool extra content, oh boy, those glitches made for some problems. When it comes down to it, the Donkey Kong Country ports are probably some of the better SNES ports because they added a lot of stuff to make up for some of the other problems. For better or worse in some cases, yes, because some of the changed graphics in DKC3 Advance, little iffy, especially the new bear designs, which look like unfinished renders compared to these, which look a little awkward, but still passable. Honestly, I feel a lot of the challenge in this level probably also came down to playing it on a CRT, where the lighting would have been a little different compared to playing it on an emulator or a HD TV nowadays on like virtual consoles. So this is also a level I feel that just got easier with time and technological advancement, because CRTs do make things look a lot different. I'm personally someone who prefers the sharp pixels, so CRT filters usually turn me off because of that. That's something I've been trying to do for years on this channel even. I always try to record with whatever settings make the game's art the sharpest it can be. I've always preferred the sharp pixel look. Also, this is another level where they put coin right at the very end, because having coin underwater probably wouldn't work too well. But hey, I'll take it. It's easy to find him. Alright, from there we're moving on to, which level is this? Pothole Panic. This is perhaps one of the more active stages in the game, because this is sort of this game's Animal Antics. We're going to be dealing with a lot of our animal buddies throughout the game, throughout the entire level, starting from Squawks, moving over to, I think, Ellie from there, then over to Ungard, and I think Squidder's somewhere in there. I forget the exact order, honestly. But we're going to need to make use of each of their individual abilities to get not only the bonuses, but also any of the coins in this world. The biggest annoyance in this stage is the purple barrel enemies we saw a moment ago, because they throw bombs out. And the bombs themselves aren't too threatening. It's just the usual, you get hit, you lose the Kong, oh well. Although in this level, this is also a level where you don't, if you get hit, you lose the animal buddy, you have to catch back up with them again. So maybe it is more of a threat that I should make it out to be. The problem is, It's easier to get hit by the bombs than one would initially suspect, just because they throw the bombs before they show up on screen. So it's very easy if you're rushing to just end up face first in a bomb, because you didn't know there was going to be an enemy throwing bombs there. With that said, this level does use an ability we haven't quite used with any of our animal buddies yet, in that you've seen me do it once or twice, I think, just to get some extra stuff along the way. But you can actively dismount animal buddies by, I believe, pressing, I want to say it's the X button, whatever the throw button is, I believe it is. And you're going to need to do that in order to get off not only on guard, but getting one of the bonus stages in this level requires you to dismount an animal buddy later on. In fact, it might be coming up pretty soon. This level also gets to showcase something that we don't really get to see too often, barring maybe the first level she's in. Ellie can swim. Only in very specific sections where there is water, but she can. And hey, she doesn't even run when she's doing it, so yeah. Yeah, you gotta jump right here and then dismount to reach the next bonus barrel. That's hidden just off screen enough with how low the camera is that it's kinda hard to find. And now they make an entire bonus level out of it since they realized, oh, well, they're gonna know they can do it, so might as well. There's something cheeky about that I do find funny. Otherwise, I feel the biggest problem with this level is a problem some of these levels have in general, in that for the mechanics they have, they can drag on a little bit, but that's so minuscule that I don't really mind. I am partially taking my time just to get everything along the way that I can anyway. Like, for instance, I don't need to get the Kong letters. They do not count for completion, but I'm trying to get every Kong letter in the game throughout this LP just to show off where they are. Which means I technically never get them all because I'm playing the US Super Nintendo version. More on that in, like, the second to last video. Whoa, slow down. I don't know why that's happening. It's almost impressive. This game runs very smoothly throughout. There's not much slowdown throughout it, except in a couple of places. And even then, those couple of places I find are inconsistent. It might be the fact I had recorded several videos already on this particular day. I don't remember. This can be a slightly troublesome bonus stage from memory in that I think if the bombs hit you even when you're on Squitter, it counts as a loss, and I think Squitter slightly increases the size of your hitbox. So it might be wise to dismount him before jumping into it. I'm not entirely certain how they might just throw you onto him at the start of it anyway. But you can just hold to the left of that area to avoid the bombs entirely. So if you want to wait for them to just stop being thrown at you, you can. Yay, free bananas! And now I want to throw Dixie way up here because the DK cone here is kind of smartly hidden. Because, to be frank, they really can't throw this in a section where you have to deal with a, what's it called? Animal buddy. With that, I think we're onto this world's swanky sideshow. Yes, we are. At this point, I believe I have enough to buy the mirror. Or if I don't, I'm about to. The big thing is I'm still going to need a few more bear coins in order to get everything in the quote-unquote K.A.O.S game in order to get 100%. The thing I honestly find more impressive about Swanky Sideshow is how many lines of dialogue Cranky Kong has after you beat him. Because he also has a different set of lines if he wins, so there's a surprising amount of cranky dialogue in this game. It's just all hidden in one area in the Super Nintendo version. With that said, we are now on to Ropey Rumpus. This level is an odd one in that it feels like it should have been placed in the earlier half of the game because its main mechanic is just we're going to be climbing on ropes a lot in the mountain areas. Which even then we've done already a lot in this particular level aesthetic, be it through the burning rope level earlier, or through the one where there was a bunch of clasps on the rope chasing you. It feels oddly placed because of that. Because I find that is a problem that the DK games have at times, is escalation's a little interesting of a concept, because, yeah, the true endgame content's usually still the hardest stuff, but outside of the very start of the game, the difficulty curve is very peaks and valleys. Like, there's not really a consistent growth of difficulty unless you're talking for, like, going for 100%, maybe. And I find this game to be especially guilty of that, because there are some stages that are much easier in later stages than there are in some stages in some earlier stages. It really is a stage-for-stage basis. But mind you, difficulty curves in platformers are also a little rough, in my opinion, anyway, because it does depend on player skill, and it also depends on the type of platformer you're making. Because, say, Mega Man's difficulty curve is always going to be a little weird because you have the choice of which stage to go to out of the main 8 to start with. So while there might be an easy intro stage, from there, it really is just finding which stage you find to be the easiest or which boss you find to be the easiest and working through the weakness order from there. As soon as you figure out what the weakness order is, of course. So, again, it really depends on what you're building. With that said, we now have what I think is the most important version of parry in the game. Usually whenever you see this little parrot, they're just going to give you, like, maybe some extra lives or maybe a Kong letter. You need to take him all the way to the end this time because he's a bonus barrel. Odd, but thankfully it's a very short period that you have him, so if you mess up, you don't have to trek a lot to the level. You just have to go back to the checkpoint after dying. Parry is probably the least utilized Animal Buddy in the game, and it mostly is just because he's, by and large, a bonus than anything. In this case, very literally. But still, I like the mechanic they got going on there. I wish they used him a little more often, honestly. I don't know why I like that particular bonus. It's very simple, but there's something about that layout that just makes my brain activate. Nice thing about that level, it's also kind of short. With that said, we're now moving on to my least favorite boss fight in the game, Barbos' Barrier. The thing with Barbos is, as you can see, we're going to be in a lake for this fight, so this is an underwater boss fight, and due to that, we have to use On Guard the entire time. But the thing is with Barbos is she's a giant one of those sea urchin enemies we've been seeing throughout the game thus far. To start off, she's going to have a shield, and she's going to shoot out miniature lurchins. We need to use On Guard to knock into the minor lurchins to knock away her shield, at which point she'll start raising her shell up and down to try and protect herself, but then you can hit her. At that point, she sinks down, and we have to do that again, but in a wider, more complicated room. And now, the main enemies are going to be weird little cone squids, who are homing missiles. When they turn yellow, they home in on your general direction in one of the 8 directions, and you just need to try and aim your best to hit the thing. At this point, you just hit her again. The thing is with this fight, Phase 1 and 2, pretty simple. Not too much to worry about. Phase 3 sucks, because now she sticks to the top of the arena and fires 5 spikes. That is 6 spikes, rather. In the 3 main cardinal directions, the 2 intercardinals, and I think 2 more intercardinals. The problem is, because she doesn't fire them at consistent timings, they can be from either higher or lower locations in the room, and since it's a very small room, it's very easy to get hit by them completely out of your control just because you don't know when she's going to fire them. I don't like Phase 3 of that fight. That's my least favorite boss fight in the game. With that said, if you're playing the GBA version, you're not fighting that fight, because in the GBA version at this point, things start to differ out a bit. Because you fight a different boss fight there, and then you're told to go to the northwest of the map to go to a completely new world in the game by the name of Pacifica that adds 6 completely new levels. Here in the SNES version, though, we're thrown into K.A.O.S Core. This is the final main world of the game. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in Part 9, we're going to start off K.A.O.S Core. See you guys then.